I am the world's greatest programmer. Don't believe me? Look at this. Bam. Yeah, so basically what's happening here is we have workflows running, and I'm going to try to explain how this works because I finally have this shit working reliably. It has literally taken like 2 weeks to get this shit running reliably, and this is an insane system. I just want to walk you through how the system works. But basically, what we have here is a bunch of workflows running in Cloudflare, and we have a manager that's actually able to orchestrate everything to make sure that we don't hit rate limits. I'll show you the workflow that we're running, but the first time I deployed it, we had, you can see here, we have 8,000 instances, workflows waiting to run. When we first deployed it, we had like 8,000, deployed instantly, and 4,000 ran at a time because that's the maximum on the Cloudflare like Pro plan. And the database got like maxed out. Like we smacked the CPU limits, and everything started exploding, and I wanted to kill myself. But now we only have 16 workflows running. That's actually because we can only allocate a certain amount of capacity per install. And if we check again, we should see like occasionally you get like other installs that can run. They just have like a single workflow. They run and they're done, and then the other ones are just queued up and they're waiting. And so this is to avoid rate limits with the external API. But yeah, I'll talk about this. This also has to do with my main product, Streamlined, and kind of how it works and how we ensure data integrity, even when it's against the odds, even when we have to fight uphill to get what our customers need. Right. So basically what we have is we have two systems. So the first one is this receiver for contact activity. So basically what we're doing is, the way it works is we catch webhooks out of HighLevel, and that's the CRM we plug into, and we basically need to take those webhooks and update our database so that when we show data to our users in their dashboard, the data is accurate. The issue is HighLevel is supposed to send a webhook whenever something changes, like a contact is updated or an opportunity or a phone call happens. But, that doesn't always happen. In fact, it's pretty common that they don't send an event, and a customer will say, Adam, your data is bullshit. What the hell is going on here? And I go, I don't even know. I never got that event. I don't know how I'm supposed to know to update that. So this is the solution. What we're doing is, this is a pretty lightweight version, but basically all we're doing is every time a contact is updated or has a phone call or an appointment or tag added or any activity for a contact, we send that event over to its own durable object called Contact Activity Tracker. Now what this does is there's a bunch of logic around it to kind of make things reliable and track phases and whatever. But in general, all we're doing is, let me find the new activity function. Every time we have new activity for this contact, we reset the alarm, and then that alarm will fire 12 hours from when we reset it. So every time there's activity, we set that out another 12 hours, and eventually that alarm is going to fire, which, if the stage is waiting basically for this activity tracker, we're going to create a workflow instance to say, hey, let's go double check all the data for this contact, and that will that'll allow us to have fully up-to-date data and catch any events that we may have missed since basically this contact was last updated. So all we do is we create that workflow instance, and then we have some internal logging and stuff to deduplicate activity. And that goes into this workflow, which I'll show you here. That's not the workflow. This is the workflow. Basically, all it does is it says, it's up here. So when this workflow starts, basically we first request capacity. So we have three types of constraints. First is global. We know that if we hit 4,000 instances across all of our activity, then everything's basically going to explode and we're going to die. Our database is going to die. We also know that for this workflow, maybe if we have other workflows, we might want a max of like 50 workflows running at the same time, whatever it takes to drain out the queue and make sure it doesn't last more than like 24 hours. So basically what we have to do is, and the last thing is the install. So we have an app key, this payload for this workflow, is basically a contact ID, a location ID, and an app key. So the location ID and the app key are tied to a specific install, and those have their own rate limits per 10 seconds and also per day. So basically what we need to do is make sure that we have capacity to run this workflow. So that's going to go to our separate workflow manager. And basically at the start, we say, okay, do we have capacity? So we use a workflow step from Cloudflare. Basically, if you've ever used trigger.dev, I just rebuilt fucking trigger.dev in Cloudflare. So, but it's better. Let me show you. So we say, hey, can we get some capacity so we can run this workflow? We should really name this method const granted equals I can has capacity. That's so retarded. But yeah, basically we say, are we good to go right now, right away? So if we refresh this, and if we have, like for this, oh, okay, let me see if there's one. Also, these are at 0 runs, so I might not be the greatest programmer in the world. I might be actually kind of an idiot because these should be queuing up new runs. So I don't know what's going on there, but we could look at the logs. But basically, if we have a workflow or an install that's just like a single kind of workflow, then as soon as it requests capacity, it's basically to be granted, because we're not at the global max, we're not at the workflow max. The only thing we're capped out at is the per install capacity. And so once we see that we have enough capacity, this workflow can go. And this will be a Boolean of true. And so that's going to be cached even if the workflow retries. But if we don't get permission to run the workflow, then we're going to have to wait for an event. So we're basically going to tell, the way it works is the capacity manager, this thing, is going to say, okay, just hang on, and then I'll tell you when you're good to go. So that's kind of the genius of this, is all we have to do is put step.wait for event, and then once we're ready, we'll send a payload that says capacity allocated. And yeah, so this also, by the way, we have a single durable object where we get ID from name main, which I saw in their documentation that's kind of an anti-pattern, but I honestly don't even know how to do it otherwise, and I think it'll be fine. Fingers crossed, right? But yeah, anyways, I'll show you this durable object. So the way it works is when we create the durable object, we have a few tables. Firstly, we want to store our waiting workflows, the ones that need to be invoked, and we have the created at milliseconds so that we can sort by those and send events to the most recent ones, being like, hey, you're good to go. And then we also have a running table so we can track what our capacity is across the different categories. So yeah, I mean, basically all it does is at the start of the workflow, we try to allocate capacity. If we can't, then we add it to the waiting list. And then when the workflow is done, it'll release its capacity so the next workflow can run. And then whenever the alarm fires, we're going to drain our waiting workflows and clean out kind of the expired ones. Actually, drain waiting happens when we release capacity. But yeah, the way drain waiting works is we basically we have a function that just goes through our list of waiting workflows and tries to find ones that are okay to run. The only issue I was having here was that basically when we tried to invoke a workflow, so here we would basically say, okay, if this workflow is like good to run, like we have capacity for it, we have to send this event to the workflow. The issue was we were sending the event, but the workflow wasn't actually unpausing. It was really fucked up because I was like, things were just moving at a snail's pace because it was waiting like 10 minutes till it hit kind of like the maximum, and then we'd try to clean it up and we'd be like, God damn, this thing's still waiting. So now, instead of just sending a single event, we try like 5 times. And we wait a couple of seconds, then check the status. If we're running, then we're good. Else, basically handle those scenarios. So, yeah, now it's pretty good. I mean, I'm about to eat my fucking words. Oh, okay, now we don't have any of those installs that are stuck at 0. That might just be because it hadn't released capacity in a second, so those workflows had completed, but it hadn't... Actually, I don't even know why that happened, but yeah, as we can see, we're basically at max capacity for all these workflows or all these installs that have a bunch of workflows waiting. And this waiting number used to be like 8,800 about 10 or 20 minutes ago. I knew we shouldn't have this big of a queue, and yes, we don't actually have to have one. We can rip through this bad boy as fast as we need. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, this is like such a big unlock because now we should basically have damn near 100% data reliability and a much, much higher throughput for backfill. Because if I show you my kind of my usage for trigger.dev right now, it is literally insane. Like, if we look at my usage, so this is month to date, it's the 9th. We spent $350. So we're on track to spend $1,000 again. And purely, look at this. So our biggest cost is by a mile backfill contact data. The exact same task that we're running in Cloudflare, we have the same task running on Trigger, because that's how it's been set up. And that this is a new kind of migration. And it's cost $240 on Trigger, which I guarantee you it's not going to cost that on Cloudflare. It might cost 10, 20 bucks to do this plus the thing we're doing right now, which is even more intensive. So yeah, $240 so far this month in just this task alone. And the throughput is dog shit. Like, a lot of the times I'll wake up in the morning and we'll have like 5,000 workflows queued that need to be chewed through, and it takes forever. And now, I mean, look at this, 79. We're already down 100 workflows, and it's been like 2 minutes since I last checked it or something. So yeah, I mean, overall, this system rocks, and it has been a lot of trial and error. You can see, like, this, when we had this as a single class before I broke it up, this was literally like, I think like 12 or 1,300 lines of code, which is huge. But actually, what I was able to do is get Claude Code to help me with this, because I'm realizing I can't hire right now. I don't have the resources or the time to train someone, and I still need to move really fast. And the one thing that pisses me the fuck off about Claude Code is that it uses fucking camel case, which I'll show you. Oh, drain waiting. That's where it is. Basically, we have workflow handled as camel case. I would never do that. It's always snake case for variable names in my files, and for some reason it can't see that literally every fucking other variable name in this entire file is snake case, and it decided to use camel case. But yeah, I mean, it can still do a pretty good job. You definitely have to review the diffs, to make sure that it's not fucking up or going out of kind of going against some of the rules that you gave it. But in general, I think it can actually speed you up quite a bit. And yeah, so using Claude Code has been pretty good. And also, like, I'm not an engineer by trade. I've never worked at Amazon or something. So in a lot of cases, the LLM actually has kind of a better standard for code than you yourself do. So it can write better error handling and kind of handle edge cases that you wouldn't even think of. But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy that, like, when I built this thing myself, it was a pile of shit, and now we literally have it, like, it's running like a charm. I mean, of course, this one says 0 out of 96 CRTT, but I mean, in a few seconds, it should go to 2 or 1 workflow. Basically, this number here is how many instances are running versus how many are queued, and then, how many are waiting for this install, and then this is just the maximum out of the maximum that can be run. I don't know. This one still says 0 out of 6. I don't know why it's saying that. We could check the logs though. Events. So, okay, so it found this one. This was just a moment ago. Oh, okay, so it released capacity. We should go to events, and we should see a release capacity invocation where basically the workflow is invoking release capacity. If it's going to load. Let's see where we're at now. Okay, wow. That went from 96 to 90. Dude, so it just like, I don't know, there's a little bit of delay here, but the real thing is throughput is a serious concern here. We actually do need to make sure that we can get like massive throughput because, you know, I think in the last 12 or 14 hours, we've had 8,000. We've probably handled like 10,000 workflows. And so I would expect, especially once we layer on, like you could see in my trigger usage, we've run 174,000 of these in the last 9 days. So, I mean, that's like 20,000 a day. 174,000 by my 9. Yeah, it's like 20,000 a day. Plus these 10,000 that are kind of a separate process. So yeah, probably around 30,000 workflows per day. So throughput is a really big deal here. But yeah, I think we should be able to get a good amount of throughput with this approach. Look, yeah, see, we're maxed out for most of these. This one's just got one, but it must have had like a deallocation, and now it's kind of got to queue up another one. Boom, there we go. And yeah, these queues are coming down. This one was 1900. This one, I don't know what this one was, but yeah, there are problems that we're cropping up on, such as some sub accounts, a couple in particular, probably like these three, are so active that I'm literally hitting daily rate limits where we can run 200,000 API calls per day per sub account. And we've hit scenarios already where we're just getting constant errors because we're already at our daily limit. So eventually this durable object is probably going to have to be expanded to also basically track like how many API calls we have remaining for that day so that we can we basically just have to track like how many API calls we have for that day and then when the day resets. And because at a certain point, if we hit our daily limit, that's it. Like there's nothing else that's exceeding and we have to wait until the next day. And then, you know, you might even have to like if you can't catch up at that rate too, if you're hitting a limit, then you kind of just have to you're cooked, right? All right, this video is already long enough, but a funny thing that we had going on was that we literally had, we were using durable object kind of KV storage, where if you see, well, all right, we're not really using storage here at all, but you could basically say like, oh yeah, for the alarm, you might do like this context.storage put, and then you would put a key and then a value. I didn't realize that could only be 2 megabytes, so I put 12,000 waiting workflows in a single key value store, which ended up exceeding the 2 megabyte limit. And yeah, we got absolutely cooked. That was pretty bad. So, but you know, it's fine now. 7049. Oh, dude, this is so cherry. It's burning like it's literally ripping through like 50 workflows every like 2 minutes or something. Like this can actually chuck. I'm super happy with this. And one of the best things is, of course, it can handle these really chatty kind of accounts that end up just like, normally they would just suck up all the capacity and these guys down here would get totally screwed because they would be like super far down the line. But in this case, because we're using the SQL in, let's see. Because we're using SQL, the SQLite configuration. Oh, here. Yeah, because we're using this, we can literally run queries and we can say, get me all of the waiting workflows. Like when we go to drain our waiting workflows, we select, where the hell? Oh, yeah. Basically what we do is first we get all of the installs, basically all of these things that are already maxed out, that already have 2 workflows running. And we say, all right, we can't run any workflows for these, so we get an array of install keys. And then when we go to find workflows that are next to DQ, we sort ascending and we say where the install key is not one of these values. And so then that gives us just the workflows that we actually need to run, excluding all the really chatty ones. So these get basically their own queue, which Trigger doesn't even support having this kind of thing. Well, I suppose you could do a workflow limit and an install limit and a global limit. Like, those are the default. But the one thing you can't do is share this queue across multiple workflows. So when we add multiple different kinds of workflows to this list here, we're not also going to be able to add to use this same queue. But in this case, we can use this exact same queue to manage multiple workflows, because the rate limits still apply. I think my car's like bugging out or something. But yeah, that is pretty exciting. So I just wanted to share this because finally something is working. I spent way too long on this. Now it's on to the next 5 billion things that I have to do. But yeah, now this is finally working. This is just a huge, huge unlock to have this working reliably. Wow, CRTT has burned through like 40 workflows. Let's see, it's almost going to be done, literally. It's going to be off this list soon. 1 out of 1. Bang. Oh, so sick, dude. This is awesome. Man, it feels so good to finally like get some shit done that you've been struggling with for your entire fucking life. All right, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.